I cannot believe that I am about to say this, but Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 was actually decent.
Impossible. Impossible.
I still cannot believe that this movie got a sequel. And it was good on top of that. So Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 is the sequel to Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 1, or Part 1 if you will. The film is directed by Rhys Frank Waterfield and it stars Scott Chambers, Ryan Olivia, and Louis Santer. Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Owl, and Tigger take their fight to the town of Ashdown, leaving a bloody trail of death and mayhem in their wake. I'm just going to jump right into it. After seeing the first Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, I had absolute zero faith that the sequel would be any good, if not better. And I can confidently say that I was wrong. And to the director, I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game. If you had told me that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey was going to get a sequel, and that sequel was going to be significantly better than the first one, I would have thought you were smoking crack. But no, Blood and Honey 2, it was actually decent. Let me break it down. First off, the production in this film is miles better than Part 1. Because, dude, if you go back and look at Part 1, everything about that movie just... that movie was like a masterclass of how to not make a film. And Part 2 is how you take the criticisms from the first film and improve it in Part 2. But going back to what I was saying, the production in Part 2 was actually quite impressive. Everything from the sets to the practical effects and the prosthetics used on the monster animal creatures, if you will, to surprisingly the cinematography, which I did not expect to be good. There are some really unique shots that I was quite impressed with. I sat there like, damn. For a movie about childhood creatures turning into feral monsters, this movie is shot really well. But also, the movie uses a lot of practical effects. Not just for the monsters, but for the kills as well. Most of them, I think. Yeah, most of them were practical. And those practical effects added more realism to not only the kills, but to the monsters, if you will. If you look at how they looked in Part 1, they looked like two guys wearing a Party City mask, like the type of mask that you and your crew will wear when you're about to run a GTA heist. And like I said, most of the kills in here are practical. In fact, that practicality really enhanced the gore fest that this movie was going for. If you ask me, Terrifier 2 might have some competition. Let me stop, because Terrifier 2 had me fucked up for a while. So most of the kills came from either Winnie the Pooh or Tigger. And funny enough, Tigger actually had the coolest looking kills. So in the movie, they gave him these metal razor sharp claws, and he is just slicing and dicing through people. And with the dialogue that they give Tigger as well, you can tell the director wanted to pay homage to Freddy Krueger, and that he did with Tigger. It was pretty damn cool, I can't lie. But not only is the production, the practical effects, and the kills way better compared to Part 1, the story in Part 2 was surprisingly good in a way. So Part 2 takes place, I believe, a month after the events of Part 1. And in Part 2, you see Christopher Robin facing the repercussions from the 100 Acres Massacre. Half the town is terrified of him and hates him, and the other half believes and supports him. And you see Christopher Robin just, he feels guilty for what happened at the massacre, even though it really was not his fault. And I appreciate them for taking that aspect and turning it into the story for this movie. And the way they handled the continuity of Part 1 was so crazy that it was genius. Despite the amount of fun and the appreciation that I have for Part 2, I do have a couple of problems with Part 2. And I'm not going to sit up here and say, oh, the concept is dumb. I mean, well, yeah, no shit, the concept is dumb. But with the way this movie is executed, you can tell this was made by passionate filmmakers. When you look at Part 1 and compare it to Part 2, it's almost two different movies in a way. I mean, still the same concept, but Part 2 was just significantly executed better. One problem that I had with this movie was how off the pacing was. So one moment the pacing could be going up and then it stops. Like it's just steady, then it drops a little bit, then it picks right back up. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird like that. It starts off good, then gets slow, then really slow, and it kind of drags to get to that point. But when it gets to that point, it is non-stop bloodshed chaos. But I felt that it could have picked up in certain scenes. So in this movie, this time we have Pooh and Piglet returning, and then you also have Owl and Tigger. And I appreciated that because it kind of does expand their character in a way. But what I didn't like is that you have these 4 feral-looking, monster-like killer slashers, if you will, right? And in the movie, they all kind of get separated. And I don't like that because you have Tigger and Pooh doing one thing. You have Owl doing one thing, in which, well, in the third act, he kind of just fucks off. Like, Owl, why are you flying away? Go help your mans. And Piglet's there just to be there. So I don't like how all the characters were like separated. I kind of wanted them to all come together and just fuck shit up in unison. But in the end, y'all, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 is a significant improvement compared to part 1. And this movie was a pretty decent fun time. Also, y'all, when I saw that Rotten Tomatoes score of how the movie had essentially a 100%, I knew something was up because there is no way. Rotten Tomatoes, I know how y'all operate. Y'all giving high scores to movies that don't deserve it. I am familiar with your game. You cannot fool me. So plugging Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Into the rank system, I am placing this one into the pass zone. But yeah, y'all, that is pretty much my review for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys thought about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you excited for the Poohniverse coming next year? Whatever you thought, let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, guys, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more. And I will see you all in the next one.